Hey y'all, so on this episode today, we're going to be working with these neon pigments there. I got some rhinestones for you as well, and I'm going to go ahead and start with my primer. I use the Balm primer. I really love it. It creates a really nice smooth finish that gives me a really good skin foundation for me to go ahead and start applying my makeup on. So now you'll see I'm going in with my LA Girl Brow Pomade, and I'm just starting to line the bottom of my eyebrows and go ahead and start filling in there just to make sure that everything looks nice and clean. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the other eyebrow as well and just repeat the same thing. Line those bottom brows and then go ahead and fill in. Give a little shape to the top and kind of brush out the front just to make sure that it looks nice and kind of like an ombre brow. I feel like an ombre brow is my favorite thing to do because it does make it look more so natural. And my shape of brow, my brow structure, all of that good stuff looks really good with an ombre brow. So I stick to what I know because that's what I do. So after I've gotten a good basis there for my brows, I'm going to go in with that Black Radiance concealer. That is the HD corrector of theirs. And I'm just going to line those bottom brows, cut out those brows to make sure that they look nice and sharp and even and arched and just, whew, beautiful. I actually feel like these are some of the best brows that I've done in a little while. I don't know what's been going on, but every once in a while I kind of feel off with my brow game, and this was definitely not one of those times. I'm actually really happy that my brows turned out so good for this video in particular, just because I was so pressed about these pigments and making sure that the look came together so nice and so flawlessly. So being able to have a brow that also complemented this pigment was something that was huge for me, and I was so proud of myself for being able to do so. So you just see me patting in that concealer, and I brought it all the way down onto my lids just to create a nice basis for what I'm going to start with as far as the pigments go. I did go underneath my eye a little bit. I'm not really sure why I did that because I was going to wipe that off anyways after I finished with my pigments. So now you'll see me going in with that pink one, and ooh child, I love this pink pigment because it goes on so nice. And I really would have liked to do this on top of the Anastasia Beverly Hills. However, I wanted to make sure that I had a nice contrast between the pigment itself and when I did the cut crease. So being that I wanted to make sure that that cut crease came out really nice and really sharp, I went ahead and just did this on top of a concealer that matches my skin tone more closely. So that'll provide me with the necessary sharpness of that cut crease that I'm aiming for. And here you'll just see me swiping the pink into those creases, just making sure that it shows up nice and well. I took my Betty Boop fluffy blender brush to make sure that I got this swiped into the creases very nicely, and to make sure that also the brush was holding enough pigment for me to be able to see the color showing up. So now you'll see that I'm taking this orange and I'm going to swipe that on top of the pink just to kind of give it some different levels of color and to make sure that everything is blended out, because when I do go in and do the cut crease, I want to make sure that all of the colors are able to be seen not only in the transition part of the eye and the crease part of the eye, but also when that cut crease hits, I want you to be able to identify those colors as well. So now you'll see that I took that yellow and I'm just going to put that on top of the orange. So kind of just creating some layers there, so pink, orange, and yellow. And I'm just going to go ahead and blend this in really smoothly, kind of make that orange on top not so harsh and just make it nice and blended. I mean, what other word can you use besides blended? Because it all needs to be blended. And so we're going to make sure that that's the case. So I will say that with this eye look, I did become a little bit obsessed with making sure that it was really blended and making sure that you could see all the colors. You'll see me go back at various points in time and add more of some of the other pigments on top of this one, or just making sure that the blend is even on both eyes. I, for one, like to make sure that the blend is even on both eyes, make sure that the amount of color is even on both eyes. So I become really kind of obsessive compulsive with that, but I honestly don't think it's a bad thing, especially when you're doing makeup, because you do want everything to look as nice and symmetrical as possible. So this is just kind of me doing it in my own little way. And yes, it does take me a little bit more time, but the finished product, that just shows me right there that it's worth it. So you'll see me just keep going in with that. So right here is where I'm going to go in with that Anastasia Beverly Hills primer, and I'm just going to start to cut that crease out and make sure that that's nice and super sharp and super even and just sculpted, but also making sure that I have enough of it on the eyelid so that it really does actually hold on to that pigment that I'm about to put on top of it. So here I just start with the yellow, and so I want to do the yellow on the inner corners of my eyes, and then I'm going to build it out with the orange and the pink on the ends. So this is really exciting to me because this yellow really showed up really nice. I know that you can't really see it so much in the actual crease of my eye, going up towards the eyebrow. However, I did want to make sure that the yellow did still have a nice part in the look. So this was kind of my way to be able to showcase that and really show the colors there. And so this is the orange. I'm just going to go ahead and pack that one in and just kind of do it as a blend to make sure that it goes nicely and smoothly from the yellow to the orange. And you'll also see me from time to time go in with my smaller fluffy brush and just kind of swipe at that crease again just to make sure that that line at the top is nice and even. So now you'll see me right here with a crayon case brush, and it's a more flat tip blender brush, and so I'm just kind of blending out the transition between the yellows, the orange, and the pink. Just to make sure that the whole eye looks really smooth. And then you'll see me kind of go in with some of those pigments just to make sure that the colors are very present, but also that the blend is really even, because I want this to look so smooth and so like effortless. But of course that takes a lot of work. So now I'm just going to go in and do that same look on the other eye. So what you'll see me doing now is going in with that pink pigment and kind of trying to smoke out the edges. In a little bit, you'll see me go in with the On Patrol palette from Badass Beauties, and I'm going to use that brown shade there to just kind of add a little bit more depth to the look and give it that little bit of smokiness that I was desiring. So now you'll see that it's time for cleanup, and I'm going to use my loose leaf wipes from the crayon case to go ahead and get all of that extra pigment up, just so that I can start finishing and working the rest of my face. So now I'm just doing a little bit of slight cleanup there with my brows, and then I'm also going to carve out the top of my brows. I hadn't done that before, so we're just going to do that and then blend it out just to make sure that we have a nice and smooth but also really finished and sharp brow. I like for my brows to be nice and sharp and pointy and exact, so you'll see me carving them and kind of taking my time on that a little bit, and maybe even going back and adding some more brow pomade in places where I might have carved just a little bit too much. So that's the biggest thing in makeup. You can always go back and change something and add to it. So that's pretty much what you'll see me kind of doing here with my brows, going back and editing things and just making sure that I have a really nice and crisp shape on everything. So right here, what you'll see me doing is going in with my concealer. Now that I've cleaned up everything, I can go ahead and go in with that to apply it to give a nice clean base. I like to do this before I put on my foundation, just so that I don't have to work so hard afterwards to make sure that everything is highlighted very nicely. And just like that, it's foundation time. The foundation I'm using here is Makiage. This is their Woke Up Like This foundation. I think my color is 195. It's either 195 or 192, but that is the color that I use. I really love this foundation. It provides such a nice and even skin tone, and the coverage is really well on it. The coverage is medium to full, and it is buildable. So, you know, on days where I'm feeling a little bit more, or where I'm seeing a little bit more of my acne scars, on times where I kind of slack on my skincare a little bit, this does help and come in handy, because then that can kind of just smooth everything out for me. And now here you'll see me highlighting on top of my foundation. Like I said before, me highlighting underneath gave me a nice foundation, so that I didn't have to work so hard afterwards to go ahead and get that highlight nice and bright and nice and carved out, and make sure that it really kind of stands out as far as contrast goes from the rest of my face. Here what you'll see I'm doing is just trying to get off some of that color from my lashes. You'll see from the fallout I do have quite a bit of color on my lashes, and just to make sure that none of that transfers onto the strips that I'm putting on, I just went ahead and used my mascara to kind of get some of that off of there. And then just like we always do, we're going to take that one specific lash glue and apply it to the lash line. This gave for really nice and smooth application of the lashes there. So what you'll see me doing here is just going ahead and repeating that on the other eye. And just like that, ladies and gents, there you have it. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, share it with your friends, all of the above. Thanks for watching, loves.